Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I'm going to be revealing my 2020 NBA awards. Now, I'm sure many of you saw BSOLZ's video the other day where he got a whole bunch of NBA YouTubers together to vote on these awards, which was super cool, by the way. If you didn't see that, I'll leave that down in the description below. And he did actually ask me to vote in that, and then in this video, obviously, I'll be revealing who I actually voted for since he did it anonymously. Now, obviously, I know the season isn't actually over, and it's going to restart here in a couple of days, but I'm just going to go over who I would have voted for all of the games pre-suspension, because that's the bulk of the season anyway. And as always, I'm interested to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below, so let me know who you would have voted for each of these categories. But quickly, before we get started, if you're enjoying this type of content, then subscribing is a great way to keep up with the channel, and leaving a like rating is also a great way to let me know that you're enjoying the content and helps the video out a ton. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with the big one, and it's MVP. And this was becoming a real conversation right before the league got suspended. And I think that there's a case to be made that maybe if the season had played out all the way, we would have had a different MVP, because some of the headlines and the narratives were starting to shift a little bit more towards LeBron James, and he was having an incredible season. But I think ultimately, if we're going by the games pre-suspension, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the MVP. And coincidentally, that's who I predicted would be the MVP before the season, which I understand wasn't necessarily a flashy pick, but I did this big long video giving my reasoning why it would be Giannis, and I think that that is the right guy to vote for. Both players had incredible seasons. It's pretty clear that those are the two guys that you kind of have to pick between. But when you're looking at the statistics, Giannis is better in lower minutes. When you're looking at team record, the Bucks are better. When you're looking at offensive and defensive rating, the Bucks are better. And I just think overall he was the best player in the league this season. And obviously we're going to kind of have to wait and see where things go for Giannis's career moving forward, both in terms of his free agency, but as well as, you know, his perception around the league. This is a big postseason for him and the Bucks, because if it doesn't go well, the Bucks are going to start getting nervous that Giannis is going to leave in 2021. But if it also doesn't go well, Giannis is going to have to start worrying about this perception that he and the Bucks are a regular season team and player if he doesn't get it done in the postseason. But at least for the regular season, for the second consecutive year, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo had the best season in the league. I think he's the best player in the league in terms of the MVP, the valuable part of this award. I think it has to go to Giannis, and so he ultimately would be my MVP. We move on now to Defensive Player of the Year, and it's going to be Giannis again. And I kind of rolled around the idea of considering other players, because it's so strange to consider a guy that is also going to win the MVP and also does so much for his team offensively as the Defensive Player of the Year. But if Giannis was averaging 15 to 20 points per game, I weirdly think his case for Defensive Player of the Year would be stronger, because people would be talking more about what he does defensively for, by the way, the best defensive rating team in the entire league. And it's almost like his MVP case is hurting his Defensive Player of the Year case. Now, having said that, I still would expect him to win the award, even though there are some other notable names here up for it, people like Rudy Gobert that have won the award in the past. But I think for Giannis, it's just about the best defensive rating in the league. He does so much for that team defensively in terms of switching, in terms of working on the perimeter, protecting the rim, getting in passing lanes. And like I said, I don't want to discount what he's doing on the defensive end because of how good he's also been on the offensive end as well. I think it's been an incredible season for both him and for the Bucks in terms of those offensive and defensive ratings, in terms of the statistics for him, in terms of the impact for him. And so I would pick him and vote for him to win both the MVP as well as the Defensive Player of the Year award. We move on now to maybe the most hotly contested award, I guess, at this point, and that's the Sixth Man of the Year award. And there's two guys for the Clippers you can consider with Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, handful of other guys around the league who could consider as well. But I actually went with Dennis Schroder. When you look at his statistics for the season, he has had a really awesome year, and I will admit, part of me just wants to do something a little bit different with this and not just give it to Lou Williams again. And so that had me gravitate towards Dennis Schroder, but he's also absolutely had a Sixth Man of the Year caliber season. And I have no issues whatsoever giving him this award for an Oklahoma City Thunder team that has been awesome to watch this year. He's a huge part of that team in terms of both his minutes as well as his impact. When they're running those three-guard lineups, it is a really difficult thing to defend with him and Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And a bit of a bounce back for him perception-wise, because when he came over from Atlanta to Oklahoma City, his first season wasn't great, and even the few seasons that he was in Atlanta as a starter didn't look outstanding. So a bit of a bounce back season for him, as I said, perception-wise, and winning this award would go a long way for him in terms of people understanding how good he is and how big of an impact he can make around the league. So Dennis Schroder would be my pick for Sixth Man of the Year. Next up now is the Rookie of the Year, and I made a couple of videos about this throughout the season. about how it was possible for Zion Williamson to win the Rookie of the Year despite missing all those games just because of how big his impact was. But the problem is he just didn't play enough games. And obviously, the league being suspended certainly didn't help that. And I made the comparison in the past of when Joel Embiid didn't win the Rookie of the year that Malcolm Brogdon won it, and it's just availability. It's about the amount of games that he played. And so the award is going to go to Ja Morant. And it's not like it's a consolation prize. It's not like Ja Morant wins by default. He had an incredible season, a Rookie of the Year caliber season in any other year, and obviously he wins it this year. But if Zion played the whole season, or if he played 50 or 60 games, he probably wins this award if he continues the statistics that he put up in the very limited action that he had this season. But ultimately, I went with Ja Morant. They are currently having more team success. We'll wait and see who ends up actually winning the 8th seed. Both players had an incredible rookie season. They're going to continue to be awesome moving forward, and I can't wait to watch both of them, two of my favorite young players in the entire league. But for me, the Rookie of the Year is going to be Ja Morant. And second to last now is the Most Improved Player Award. And for me personally, I'm going to go with Bam Adebayo. And I think there are really two players you could have considered here, either Brandon Ingram or Bam Adebayo. And for me, I just felt like the impact that Bam now has on the defensive end, in addition to continue to grow as an offensive player, I feel like he grew more as an all-around player from last year to this year. And Brandon Ingram had a very, very good season as well. The statistical case is honestly more on his side in terms of the improvement in his points per game and things like that. But I also think a lot of that had to do with the increase in the opportunities that he was getting in New Orleans. Obviously improved as a player, had a much better season. But for Bam, the situation didn't change a ton around him, except for the fact that Hassan Whiteside is now gone. And I just feel like he improved more as a player, and that's kind of the direction that I typically like to go with this award. There's nothing wrong with picking Brandon Ingram if you want to, but for me personally, I'm going to go with Bam Adebayo as the most improved player for this season. And last up now is an award that I think is actually really interesting for the first time in a long time. And it's the Coach of the Year award. And we've got a ton of candidates this season. Mike Budenholzer is the coach of the team with the best record in the league, best defensive rating, one of the best offensive ratings. He's going to have the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year, probably. And anytime you have the most wins in the entire league, you're up for Coach of the Year. You've also got Erik Spoelstra, who has done a really good job in Miami this year and a huge record turnaround for them in terms of win-loss, and has put together a team and coached a team that really works well together and is better than the sum of its parts, and it's overachieved certainly this season in terms of the caliber of the roster, at least in my opinion. I think Frank Vogel also has to be mentioned. Yes, I understand that he has Anthony Davis and LeBron James, but he's gotten that roster to really be invested defensively, and they've had a great season. He's managed some of the personalities and some of the issues that can come with being the head coach of the LA Lakers. He's navigated those things beautifully. But the guy that I would ultimately go with is Nick Nurse, because this Toronto Raptors team, don't get me wrong, they're a good team. They've got good players. Pascal Siakam's very good. Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, all these different guys on their roster. But I think that they've overachieved more than any other team in terms of their offensive and defensive ratings, in terms of their records. They're incredible defensively. And to go from winning a title, losing your best player, and then turning around and not having any kind of hangover, which would have been forgivable with or without losing Kawhi Leonard, and to turn into still a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference is an incredible coaching job. And it's a testament to how good of a season Nick Nurse has had as a coach and how good of a coach he is. And I think it's one of the more impressive Coach of the Year winning seasons we've seen in a very, very long time. So any of those other guys in any other season, I think, would have been very easy to consider them and to potentially have them win this Coach of the Year award, whether it be Spoelstra or Vogel or Budenholzer. But ultimately, Nick Nurse, I think, has done the best coaching job, almost by far, of any other coach in the league with that Toronto Raptors team, and that is who I would go with as the Coach of the Year. And there you have my 2019-20 NBA award ballot. For MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. For Sixth Man of the Year, it's Dennis Schroder. For Rookie of the Year, it's Ja Morant. Most Improved is Bam Adebayo, and Coach of the Year is Nick Nurse. As always, I want to hear what you guys have to say down in the comment section below, so let me know who you would have picked for each of these categories. But also a little bonus for the people that made it to the end of the video, I'm going to start working on some NBA Illogical Award video stuff very, very soon. So if you have some suggestions for potential awards for those, leave those down in the comment section below and I will take a look. And that's also a way for me to know that you made it to the end of the video. But yeah, there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.